Hi, thanks for watching. My name is Jesse, and today I'm going to be reviewing the preview for Grave Birds by Dina Elmendorf. Now, this is the second book by this author that I've read, and actually I did a review, the preview of her previous book, In the Hour of Crows, in May of last year. This book follows Hollis in South Carolina. When she's real young, she steals a hairpin from, I guess it's like a Walgreens, like a small pharmacy store. And her grandfather takes her back to return it. And they get into an accident on their way home, and her grandfather dies. Hollis also dies, but she's brought back to life. And when she's brought back to life, she can see grave birds. And these are birds of people who have died, who have unfinished business. And when she touches the bird, she's kind of thrown back into their life to see what it is that's kind of holding them here and from moving on, keeping them from moving on. And when she gets older, she's starting her own business as an event planner, so parties, weddings, etc. And she's planning on buying her Uncle Royce's house. Now, Royce wasn't really her uncle, but he did take her in and helped raise her along with her grandparents. And so she was really, really close to him. When he passes, she's planning on getting a loan to buy his house and making that into the basis of her business. Unfortunately, the bank has other plans because one of her, I guess, childhood nemesises, is that a word? Works there, and she doesn't like her. She isn't really being helpful at all, and she's making her jump through hoops for a loan. And then this man kind of blows into town. His name is Kane, and he buys the house up from under her. She's, of course, livid. She's been living in the greenhouse, which had been converted into an apartment studio for her by her Uncle Royce. And at first, Kane is really standoffish to her. He's like, "It's not my problem. You didn't buy it." And they're kind of butting heads. But then as time goes on, things start happening. She starts seeing more grave birds. She sees a girl kind of wandering around the property, and it's a ghost. She knows it's a ghost. She's never seen it before. It's a drowned girl. And then other stuff starts happening. There's fire tornadoes that blow through town. Things start going wrong at one of the places that she's going to hold a gala for this family, the Hawthorns, who are basically the royalty of that tiny town. And they're planning on doing a fundraiser to get money for their mission work. They give money to missionaries. And as more and more grave birds start appearing and Hollis starts seeing their histories, she starts to see that there's something going on in the town, that it's all connected. All these people that these grave birds are showing her that have died, some of them in pretty horrible ways, are connected. And she just has a feeling that Kane is connected to it, but as they've been kind of butting heads, they've also been kind of growing close. And then they kind of morph into friends. But she has a feeling that Kane is the center of all this, because none of this happened until Kane came into town with his godmother Paloma. And even the Hawthorns, when she's speaking with the Hawthorns, the matriarch Libby tells the godmother Paloma, "Haven't I met you somewhere? Did you used to live here?" And Paloma, kind of in a facetious way, she's like, "Did I? Do you know me?" But she kind of somewhat sort of almost denies it. But it's really interesting. It's a good book. kept me on the edge of my seat while I was reading it. I read it pretty quickly too. It was 320 pages, but I read it in a couple days, 2-3 days, which is good because now I get to get this video out to you on the day that it's being released. I know it's been a little while since I've posted any videos. My life has gotten like so. Oh my goodness! If you live in a rural area and you have a tendency to make brush piles and then set them on fire when they get too big, make sure that there's no animals underneath that brush pile before you set it on fire, please. We had a brush pile in the back, and I mean, it just grew like so ridiculously big, bigger than normal, because our nephew was moving into the house on the other side of our father-in-law's. And so when he was remodeling that house, he would bring stuff and he'd put it in the brush pile. And then our neighbor, he does tree work or lawn work or something, I don't know. But he asked John, he was like, hey, can I bring some of the brush and just throw it in your brush pile? And John was like, yeah, go ahead. So the brush pile got really big. And then one day John and his dad went out and they set the brush pile on fire. And I think our neighbor was out there with them. And then John, he's got something in his hand. He's walking towards us. And I'm like, oh God, they killed something. But then I saw that the thing that he was holding was wiggling, and he was holding it by its tail. I was like, oh my God, he's got a possum. And it was this little tiny baby possum. And he goes, it ran out from underneath the brush when we set it on fire. And I was like, oh no. I was like, there's more. And so he goes back out there, and he finds another one. And they wait, but no other possums come out. And so we're hoping that the mom and the other possums got out and we just didn't see them. Maybe when John was walking back towards the house with the baby possum. But the two possums were really, really small. And when we inspected them further, one of them had his fur kind of singed. His whiskers were burnt off. He had some burn marks on his tail and on his back foot. And so I told him, I was like, we can't let these go. They don't have them, like, we don't know where their mom is. Their mom might not come back. I was like, we got to at least get them big enough to where they can function on their own. Well, the one that had gotten burnt, one of them didn't. The first one that he brought, I think it was the first one that he brought, it was fine. No burn marks, no nothing. But the other one, we didn't realize the extent of the burns, and part of his tail fell off. And it took a while for his tail to heal the rest of the way. And he's starting to get use of his prehensile tail again. And let me tell you something. I had no idea that there was so much that you had to learn about opossums to care for them correctly. They can't have cow dairy, so we bought some goat milk. They were too small to be eating, so I had to puree everything and give them the goat milk along with like pureed apples and carrots. And I spent hours. Learning about opossums and how to take care of them. And then I fell in love with these possums. And now we have a possum house that they stay in. We get them out during the day so they can get some exercise and move around the house. Our dogs are historically really good with other animals. And so we did introduce them to our dogs, and our older dog, Iggy, who has babied kittens before, she took to them right away, but she got a little excited. And so she did scare them when she got like right up in their face. And one of them pooped. The one that wasn't burned, he kind of pooped because he got so scared. But they did get used to them. The dog got used to the opossums, and the opossums got used to the dogs. And now they're just kind of all, they sniff each other like all the time. And that was back in the middle of May. Well, my niece, who lives across the street, she knows that we have the possums. And her sister, who lives a couple towns over, has horses and chickens, and she's got like a whole bunch of animals over there. And an opossum got into her chicken coop, and she shot it. And she didn't realize that it was a mom with babies, 11 to be exact. And so she told her sister, and her sister was like, "Hey, Jesse and John have 2 opossums. Maybe they'd be willing to take care of them until they can release them." And so she, like, I texted her. I was like, "Hey," I was like, "your sister told me you have opossums." I was like, "You can bring them over. We'll just basically rehab them until we can release them." She's like, "Okay." And that was on a Sunday. She's like, "I'll bring them over tomorrow." So Monday she texted me. She's like, "Hey," she's like, "it's raining. I'm not gonna be able to bring them over. I'll bring them over tomorrow." And Tuesday goes by. She's like, "Hey, we're out of town." She's like, "I'll bring them over tomorrow." And like, it's a whole week before she brings these possums over. She only brings over half of them. She brings 6 of them over. I was like, "You fell in love with them, didn't you?" She's like, "Yeah, I did." I was like, "You gotta let them go." I was like, "We have Larry and Jerry because Larry got burnt pretty severely, and we don't think he'd make it on his own in the wild anymore because he doesn't have his full tail, which is part of his balance. They actually don't hang from trees, not normally. They use their tails for balance and for holding things when they're reaching over to grab things. And they don't play dead. They actually pass out from fear. And so if you see a possum in the road and you're like, "Oh, it's just plain dead, it'll get up and walk away," it's probably not going to get up and walk away because it doesn't have function over its body when it's passed out. So if you see any possums on the road and they don't look like they've been run over yet, kind of like push them off to the side of the road so they have a chance. And also, like, maybe if you do see a possum that's dead, maybe check to see if it has any babies, because those babies have a chance to survive. You can take them to rehabbers who will raise them until they're ready to be released. I think our niece, hers are about ready to be released. Ours are about ready to be released. They got big. They grow like they grow pretty quickly. And so we've been having them kind of like forage for the possum food that we're giving them, so that they get used to having to hunt for their own food. This week we'll probably start taking them outside so they get used to the outside again and the noises and the grass and everything. But Larry and Jerry are ours. They're part of our family now. And they're so cute. Like, I don't know if you're aware of what opossum slubbing is, but they do. They'll climb on your shoulder and then they'll like slub on your hair, which is where they're like licking your hair and then like kind of rubbing their faces on it. It's so cute. So now we have 2 dogs, 2 opossums, and a dwarf hamster, in addition to our 3 still in the house kids and a bonus kid who's here almost every weekend. So yeah, my life has been pretty busy this summer, but it's been great. It's been great. And I didn't know I could love opossums so much. But of course, before we got JJ's first hamster, Hammy, I didn't know I could love hamsters so much. And now we have Winston, and I love Winston too. So it's great. I hope you guys are having a wonderful summer. The book was great. Sorry, I know I went off on a tangent, probably talk more about the possums than I did about the book, but the book was great. I like Dana Elmendorf. I thought her first book, In the Hour of Crows, was phenomenal. Magical realism, kind of Southern Gothic kind of thing. This is in the same vein. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I think she's probably going to be up there with Sarah Addison Allen and Alice Hoffman. So give the book a read. Comes out today. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Like and subscribe below.